Good evening and a warm welcome. I'm Rahul Kanwal. This evening we get you an India Today special investigation, Operation Romeo. Uttar Pradesh's Anti-Romeo squad have been in the news for several weeks now, since the time they were started soon after the new BJP government came to power. See some of the images behind me. This is the Anti-Romeo squad in action. They've been rounding up young boys and girls. There have been charges of excess. The government says the Anti-Romeo squad is now being reined in, that they've started to behave much better. What the India Today investigation is going to reveal today is what's going on inside some of these Anti-Romeo squads. Remember, in every police station in Uttar Pradesh, some people have been designated as the Anti-Romeo squad team. India Today's investigative team, multiple reporters in multiple cities, went to these officials who are part of the Anti-Romeo squad. And we wanted to understand how these Anti-Romeo squads function. Now remember, and I'm saying this right at the start of our broadcast this evening, this may not be true for all Anti-Romeo squads, but some of the officials who've been exposed by India Today accept that they're willing to beat up people, land them in jail, even though they may have done nothing. So how Anti-Romeo squads, in some cases at least, have become extortion squads? This is the reality of some of the Anti-Romeo squads of Uttar Pradesh. Sit back as the India Today special investigation team brings you this hard-hitting expose, Operation Romeo.
Swooping down on parks, forcing youth to do sit-ups, thrashing them in full public view. So far, critics have compared them to the moral police, but an India Today investigation has found something much more disturbing. Several members of UP's Anti-Romeo squads are out not only to harass but implicate innocents in false cases, ready to resort to blatant thuggery for money. Their new role, a mere cover for more diabolical activities.
मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि ये कोई पार्टनर नहीं, लड़का ही हो चाहे लड़का ही, हाँ।
Onkar Nath Pandey heads the Anti-Romeo squad in the district's Transport Nagar. This is what he advised our reporters, posing as businessmen, seeking to have a rival arrested for no crime.
वहाँ खड़ा आदमी यहाँ आ गया। हाँ बताइए क्या कह रहे हैं?
मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि ये कोई पार्टनर नहीं,
लड़का ही हो चाहे
लड़का ही,
हाँ।
और पहले अपना विश्वास मिलेगा, उसके बाद से मारपीट कर लो, दारू पी ले में नशे में करे, ठीक है मैं आ रहा हूँ, और पहले वो किसी को उसमें थोड़ी सी भड़का के आग को, जैसे होता ना उत्तेजना दिला के, और उसके बाद से फिर ये वो उलझ जाए, ये बात करने में आगे बढ़ जाए, फोन करके पहुँच जाए गाड़ी, उठाना है कि दुकानदार से या ठेले वाले से या किसी से गाड़ी भी डाला देंगे,
चला जाएगा जेल,
बिल्कुल जेल।
That was just the trailer. Look at what other schemes the fiendish man in khaki hatched.
इस टाइप का है, अब सज्जन है जाते हैं वैसा।
लड़का शरीफ है, उसको कोई क्रिमिनल रिकॉर्ड तो नहीं है, तो चाहे कट्टा लगा के अंदर करवा दो, क्या दिक्कत है?
जिससे हमें तो भाई जो मिलेगा उसी को लगा दो,
वो आप देख लेना। अच्छा, इसके लिए बिल्कुल फ्रैंक होकर आप बताना, कोई मुझे बीच में रखना है, किसी और को बीच में रखना, क्या कह दूँ उससे, क्या कह दूँ, क्या सेवा?
50 तो होगी,
50 क्या, 50,000? लेकिन 50,000 में क्या होगा ये बताओ?
जेल भेज देंगे इसको।
Stunning indeed. A Romeo squad leader ready to put an innocent man behind bars for 50,000 rupees. Charge illegal weapons. Our probe moves further.
तो ऐसा है कि एंटी रोमियो स्क्वाड तो आप ही हेड कर रहे हैं यहाँ से।
Sub-Inspector Vineet Verma, the head of an anti-Romeo squad at a Bulandshahr police station. He's in conversation with our undercover reporters on how to implicate an innocent businessman in a false case of eve-teasing.
हम देख रहे थे कि उसकी ठीक ठाक पिटाई ऐसी हो जाए कम से कम कि वो सेट हो जाए, परेशानी ना करे।
चलो बात नहीं, फोटो वगैरह दिखा देना आप उसके, मेरे को फोटो भेज देना, मेरे व्हाट्सएप नंबर ले लो आप।
पूरा एंटी रोमियो स्क्वाड में कार्रवाई करवा दो, ऐसी इस टाइप का।
ठीक, लेकिन एंटी रोमियो में ये भी तो है ना, कंप्लेंट करने वाला भी तो होना चाहिए। किसी का लड़की छेड़ रहा है जब तो है ना,
करना है आप देख लेना।
चलो मैं देख लूँगा, बात कर लूँगा।
लेकिन कोई राइटिंग में नहीं ये चाह रहे कंप्लेंट वगैरह?
राइटिंग में नहीं, ऐसे ये थप्पड़ वगैरह लगाना है, वो लगवा देंगे।
टॉर्चर कर देना बढ़िया तरीके।
कोई दिक्कत नहीं है।
India Today's investigative reporters traveled to the city of the Taj. Ved Prakash, the chief of an anti-Romeo squad at Agra's Naiki Mandi. This sub-inspector offered to incriminate an innocent in an unresolved case of rioting.
कुछ दिन पहले पुलिस की मुठभेड़ हुई थी। पुलिस पे हमला हुआ था। हमला दिल्ली करीब कहाँ से जस्ट आगे नाला चौक के जाए।
अच्छा,
कहाँ से वो हुई थी, नाला तंस था, पत्थरबाजी हुई थी। 150 आदमी का नाम मुकदमा है बलवे का।
अच्छा,
तो उसमें लिख दिया
बलवे में आ जाएगा उसका नाम। मतलब ये चाह रहे हैं कि जेल चला जाए लड़का।
अभी नहीं जाएगा फिलहाल, जेल के वारंट निकलेंगे अपना भी जाएगा। अभी नहीं उठाएंगे, अभी तो केवल के नाम पर वारंट करवा देंगे मजिस्ट्रेट के पास जाकर। जब वारंट निकल जाएंगे वहाँ से, वारंट हम अपने पास ही रखेंगे, ठीक है। जिस दिन आएगा उस दिन तुम बता देना, वारंट ले जाएंगे। मेरे वारंट पकड़ के ला ये चलो
1 लाख अलग से FIR लिखोगे?
नहीं, इसमें नाम नहीं है।
बलवे की ऑलरेडी FIR उसी में नाम आने का।
150 के नाम अज्ञात में मुकदमा लिखा ना, अज्ञात में।
अच्छा।
The racket runs deep in the national capital region as well.
तो सर मामला आपने बताया था वही अभी चल रहा है ना, एंटी रोमियो वाला।
Babuddin is part of a special operations group targeted with anti-Romeo activities. Not only did he promise on-demand action, but also showed how deep the rot runs.
खर्चा आएगा थोड़ा ज़्यादा, लेकिन वो काम करके ज़्यादा वो आपके लिए भी है, पुलिस के लिए भी। हमारा तो रात का काम है केस, बढ़िया केस में उसका नाम ले लिया। पुलिस चाहे जहाँ से उठा, दुनिया के किसी भी कोने में छूट जाए, वहीं से उठाकर बंद और फिर अपनी राज्य से सामान लगाएगा। अपनी राज्य जब मैं उठा के लेके जा रहा हूँ इन्वॉल्वमेंट में, तो मैं अपनी राज्य सामान लगाऊंगा। वो तुम्हारे खर्चे की बात, तुम 6 महीने के लिए भिजवा दो, साल भर के लिए भिजवा दो, 5 साल के लिए भिजवा दो, ये तुम्हारे खर्चे के ऊपर डिपेंड है। खर्चा आपका 6 महीने के लिए बंद होने के लिए कम से कम 3 लाख 36 घंटे में।
A nasty game plan to frame a fictitious man in a consensual relationship with a woman. Babuddin now comes with his team to firm up the plot to throw an innocent behind bars.
मैं अभी उसका पूरा हमारे पास बायोडाटा रखा, हमने बना के रखी प्रोफाइल,
फोटो है उसका,
सब कुछ है। हाँ,
उसे अलग से मत लो।
अरे वो लेडीज,
अरे साथ में लेडीज को तो अलग कर देंगे, ले जाएंगे, लेडीज क्या नुकाएगी। मैं भी
हाँ, वो तो खुद अपनी जान बचाने के चक्कर में जानती नहीं।
हाँ, वो तो अपनी जान बचाएगी।
वो ये कॉल डिटेल निकलवा के उसी में ठीक है।
चलो देता आपसे,
क्योंकि इसका रूम भी खत्म कर देंगे, ये वाला टिया भी, इसे भी ले लेंगे ना।
Carved out of a police system accused of chronic misconduct, squads set up to protect women from sexual harassment at public places appear to be nothing more than a farce. The key therefore lies in reforming the system itself. With Jamshed Khan, K. Ashish and Sushant Pathak, this is India Today's investigation team.
Joining us to talk about this explosive India Today investigation, I want to begin by introducing Anila Singh. She's a spokesperson of the BJP. Amitabh Thakur is a IPS officer. Joining us on this broadcast also, Priyanka Chaturvedi, spokesperson of the Congress. Karuna Nandi is an advocate of the Supreme Court. I want to go across to Anila Singh first because this is what a lot of people suspected the anti-Romeo squads may end up doing. Our investigation shows that at least some of those people who've been appointed as members of these anti-Romeo squads are engaging in open extortion, beating up people, locking them up in prison, charging a lot of money. It seems to have become a Gunda squad.
Rahul, indeed it is shameful and humiliating for police force, but not to all, but those who are involved in such dirty tactics, I'll say. Or I'll say they are taking advantage of one good step which has been started by Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. It is shameful indeed because I haven't seen your sting operation. I didn't get an opportunity to see it, but whatever I'm collecting, what you have said right now, I understand that there are people in administration and police forces who are using anti-Romeo squad as a tool to gain some black money or to torture some people, something like that, if I'm not wrong.
Chaturvedi, this
indeed,
response from the BJP spokesperson is along very predictable lines.
Will be behind the bar.
The anti-Romeo squads are a great idea. You've exposed some people. Those are the crooked lot. They are the rotten apples. They must be acted against. Saying essentially that the anti-Romeo squads in concept is good. If some crooks have been caught and exposed by India Today, we will act against them. Is that an adequate response in your view, Priyanka Chaturvedi?
No, absolutely not. We must understand when the anti-Romeo squads came about, this was something we were always fearing, and this is what I mentioned on all television channels. I was part of the discussion when we were discussing on this particular topic, and this has come true through your sting operation. And you don't really need to go through a sting operation. If you look at the figures in the past, ever since Mr. Yogi Adityanath has taken charge, whether it is with regards to rape crimes, whether it is about molestations, whether it is about caste-based violence, it has all increased in numbers. So whether it is, appointing an extra constitutional authority where you make hooligans responsible as well as give them the responsibility as well as give them the respectability to go about carrying their hooliganism amongst everyone and earn money out of it, is something that needs to be addressed and addressed immediately. There can be no defense to something like this, which has just been revealed in your. Please allow me to complete. Allow me not to interrupt you, ma'am.
The one thing I don't like is guests speaking over each other. I shall not allow this turn. Anila's faded down.
I did not
Till the time
interrupt you.
Priyanka completes her argument, there must be no rebuttal. I
Yes,
will give her an
I find this
opportunity
extremely-
to come back with an interjection. Go ahead, Priyanka.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. She'll get her chance, I'm certain of it, to explain what is happening in Uttar Pradesh. And if you look at the crime records, they've only been increasing and nothing has been done to address it. So when you try to take credit by, constituting anti-Romeo squads, then you also need to take the responsibility for the outcomes that we are seeing through your sting operation. You cannot have something like this going around in Uttar Pradesh when the people of Uttar Pradesh have entrusted you with the safety and security of their women, their daughters, their sisters and their wives, and the women who go out and work, go to schools, etc. So this is something which is totally the responsibility of the Chief Minister.
Okay, Karuna Nandi, you've got two perspectives put out so far. You've got the BJP saying India Today has done a great job, we will fix the crooks who've been exposed, these are rotten apples. The Congress saying the BJP has to take responsibility. They created these anti-Romeo squads and whatever is being carried out on their names is the responsibility of the ruling party. Where do you think the truth lies? And what do you make of Operation Romeo? Karuna.
I think it's a structural problem actually, Rahul. I don't think it's a Congress versus BJP problem. I think it's a structural problem, not just in the state of Uttar Pradesh, in the rest of the country as well, with the ruling party and their affiliates. Because, for example, you had Arun Shourie, who is a former telecom minister in an NDA government, in the Vajpayee government, who supported Modi ji in the election. What he said was that there is a pyramid, he said, used very strong words. He said there's a pyramid mafia going on. Now these are very strong words. But now you look at what's going on with the anti-Romeo squads. You see the extortion, but also when they first came about, we spoke of the unlawful actions in terms of bullying, in terms of consensual relationships, in terms of just men who were roaming around in parks by themselves, just, you know, all sorts of women, etc., that were not fitting into the idea of sort of, you know, the chastity that the goons had on the ground. Then you also see the Gau Rakshaks, right? The so-called Gau Rakshaks that, you know, many people are now calling Gau Gundas. Reason being that they don't take care of cows, they don't look after cows. Very often you see a dairy farmer who is just, you know, transporting, like Pehlu Khan, who is transporting his property, his cattle from one place to the other, and they take the entire cattle, you see. Today you see the thing where NDTV is being gone after for ostensibly there's a CBI raid. But then you see also how, you know, Gautam Adani, the case against him is not really being prosecuted, right? So there's a very sort of suspect use of the law, use of extra legal, you know, encouragement and of extra legal.
Let's see what these police officers are saying. One says, we'll frame the person you want framed in a weapons case. He says, pay me 50,000 rupees. I know this guy has no case against him. I'll do it for you. The other police person is saying, I'll slap and torture him. This is Vineet Verma. He's from the Anti-Romeo squad in Bulandshahr. There's a third person, he's saying, we'll charge the person you want charged with for rioting. There's a fourth person, Babuddin, from the special operations group, Anti-Romeo squad, Ghaziabad. He's saying 3 lakhs for a 6-month prison. We'll jail him for 36 hours. This is Gundaism in khaki. This is extortion. And these are people who've been given a very sensitive responsibility of taking care of the safety of women. Mr. Thakur?
Mr. Rahul, I think there are two aspects to the entire question. As you rightly said, I heard the 3 participants who are here, and whatever the stand they took, possibly, definitely, like I am also taking a stand, each of us have a stand as per our placement where we are actually placed. My personal stand is that as far as the basic concept of anti-Romeo is concerned, as a law enforcement officer, also as a citizen, at least I personally feel that laws per se or their implementation per se are not the thing to be blamed. Operation Romeo for me or for a person like Ms. Nandi or Ms. Priyanka, I mean, they are people of the higher echelons. For them, it might not be a problem if some Romeo is roaming around and is creating a hooliganism around. But for people in small places like Kasganj, these can be real issues.
Do you agree with this?
So
that the problem is not with the anti-Romeo squad. There are larger, more structural problems with the Uttar Pradesh police. Those problems need to be fixed. Whether we did this investigation on anti-Romeo squads, he's essentially making the point that had India spoken to other UP officials also, they would have also accepted that they would be willing to do the same thing. 1 second, one at a time. I want to listen to Priyanka Chaturvedi first.
In case I'm to complete my statement, sir, I mean, the other point is that whatever expose you made, that is definitely very serious, and all of us need to take it very seriously.
Okay, Priyanka Chaturvedi.
No, I take very serious offense to what Mr. Thakur has just said as an explanation to what we seeing what men in khaki do under his charge. He is trying to say that women like Karuna Nandi and Priyanka Chaturvedi may not face these problems in urban centers, but go to smaller towns and women face this problem. I'm sorry, sir, women across this country face a similar problem. But we go towards law and order to ensure our problems or to ensure that culprits are brought to book, not through extra constitutional authorities like the anti-Romeo squads that the Uttar Pradesh government has formed. I find that extremely objectionable when you say that women like Karuna Nandi and Priyanka Chaturvedi don't face this problem. We do face these similar problems. You cannot reduce it to women in towns or women in
wants to come in as well.
Please do not do
Karuna,
that. Do not
the fact is
abuse your
that
position when you
we
defend
would have
it.
probably got similar results had we carried out this investigation with other teams of the UP police.
Mr.
So he
Thakur,
says that
please.
look at a larger structural issue, don't target just the anti-Romeo
She doesn't know
squad.
anything
Karuna
about
Nandi.
Uttar Pradesh. She doesn't know the type of legacy we have inherited from Samajwadi Party. A corrupt administrative system. Uttar
with
Pradesh
law and order,
infested
right?
with crime and
I can't
criminals.
hear
This is the
any-
legacy
I can't
which
hear
we have
myself
inherited
thinking.
from Samajwadi Party. And my dear Mr. Dwivedi, if 10% police wala are not behaving properly, if they are not doing their work properly, you can't accuse whole lot 90% police wala. Because of them,
Right, okay,
even
let me-
today.
Okay,
we
Karuna
are
Nandi, the
sitting
problems are
and
structural.
respond to
The
that.
problems are limited,
Let me now
argues the
say that
BJP.
in
Let
the
Karuna
state
Nandi
of
respond,
Uttar
please.
Pradesh,
Do not do that. Do not do that. Those who have
the
done
problem,
wrong,
unfortunately,
they should
Anila
be
ji, are not limited, you see, because, you know, I mean, Rahul, you did promise that we weren't going to speak over each other. Thank you. Now, the thing is that, you know, first I must congratulate India Today TV for getting actually concrete evidence where there's a lot of sort of talk that goes back and forth, right? So I think this is really important. Now, the point is that yes, there is a structural problem that I just spoke about, but at the same point now you have concrete evidence that demonstrates, I think, that it is part of the institutions of the state, right? Now the thing is, we also know what are other things that we know factually. You know, in this era of fake news and allegations going back and forth, I think it's very important to look at the facts. We also know that against the chief minister, there were all these criminal cases that were waiting for sanction from the government, because this is what the law requires. The law requires sanction from the government to prosecute, right? And the chief minister himself refused this sanction. Now, we also have a situation where a number of crimes are happening across the country, different kinds of gundaism, right? You have the so-called anti-Romeo squads, and Thakurji, let me make it 100% clear that you are not the only champion of feminism, okay? And if you say, you know, Priyanka Chaturvedi was saying that we as individuals face it, perhaps it is true, but perhaps besides the point. As, you know, we have not only sort of worked on legislation that deals with these issues, we have worked on various cases that deal with these issues to prevent this kind of thing. What the state of UP is doing is not protecting women for the most part. What the state of UP is doing is perhaps in some limited part protecting women, but also committing blackmail by this.
Okay, so what does the UP government have to say about this big, hard-hitting India Today expose, Operation Romeo? India Today's SIT has caught on camera members of the so-called anti-Romeo squad of the Uttar Pradesh government. They're talking about beating up people, putting false cases at them, even locking them up in prison for payments of up to 50 to 3 lakh rupees. I want to go across now, live to Lucknow. Joining us from there is one of the most important ministers in the Yogi Adityanath government, the official spokesperson of the BJP in UP, Shrikant Sharma, Power Minister, joining us on this broadcast. Shrikant ji, welcome. But before I ask you the first question, I want to play out some excerpts. आप जरा सुनिए आवाज ओंकार नाथ पांडे की, विनीत वर्मा की, वेद प्रकाश की, बाबुद्दीन की, ये सारे उत्तर प्रदेश के अलग-अलग पुलिस स्टेशंस में एंटी रोमियो स्क्वाड्स के मेंबर्स हैं. देखिए किस तरीके से हमारे कैमरे पे ये फॉल्स केसेस लगाने की बात कर रहे हैं, निर्दोष लोगों को जेल में डालने की बात कर रहे हैं और लोगों से उगाही का काम कर रहे हैं. मंत्री जी, पहले आप ऑपरेशन रोमियो देखिए, फिर मैं आपकी रिएक्शन देता हूं.
खर्चा आएगा थोड़ा ज़्यादा, लेकिन वो काम करके जो ज़्यादा वो आपके लिए भी है, पुलिस के लिए. हमारा तो रात का काम है केस, बढ़िया केस में उसका नाम भेज दिया. पुलिस चाहे जहाँ से उठा, दुनिया के किसी भी कोने में छूट जाए, वहीं से उठाकर बंद कर और फिर अपनी राज्य से सामान लगाएगा. अपनी राज्य जब मैं उठा के लेके जा रहा हूँ इन्वॉल्वमेंट है तो मैं अपनी राजी सामान लगाऊंगा। वो तुम्हारे खर्चे की बर्बाद, तुम 6 महीने के लिए भिजवा दो, साल भर के लिए भिजवा दो, 5 साल के लिए भिजवा दो, ये फिर तुम्हारे खर्चे के ऊपर डिपेंड है। खर्चा आपका 6 महीने के लिए बंद होने के लिए कम से कम 3 लाख रुपये लगेगा, 36 घंटे में।
मंच लगवाते इस टाइप का है, अभी सज्जन है जाते हैं वैसा।
लड़का शरीफ है, उसका कोई क्रिमिनल रिकॉर्ड तो नहीं है, तो चाहे कट्टा लगा के अंदर करवा दो, क्या दिक्कत है?
जिससे हमें तो वही दो जो मिलेगा उसी पे लगा दूँ,
वो आप देख लेना। अच्छा, इसके लिए बिल्कुल फ्रैंक होकर आप बताना, कोई मुझे बीच में रखना है, किसी और को बीच में रखना, क्या कह दूँ उससे, क्या कह दूँ, क्या सेवा?
50 तो होनी चाहिए।
50 क्या, 50,000? लेकिन 50,000 में क्या होगा ये बताओ?
जेल भेज देंगे इसको।
Mantri ji, this is shocking. These people are supposed to protect women in Uttar Pradesh. One of them says 50,000 रुपए दो, मैं weapons का fake case कर दूंगा. एक कहता है कि 3 लाख रुपए दो, मैं 36 घंटे के लिए जेल में डाल दूंगा. This is the first official reaction we are getting from the Yogi Adityanath government. What do you make of this big India Today expose, Operation Romeo?
इन पर देखिए हैं और जो मैंने आवाज़ सुनी है, बहुत मैं कह सकता हूं कि बिल्कुल बहुत शॉकिंग है। और आज जिस तरह से हम शासन व्यवस्था यहां चला रहे हैं और आज भी अगर इस तरह की कोई बात कर रहा है तो ये बहुत अनफॉर्चुनेट भी है। ये लोगों को हम लोग एक इन्वेस्टिगेशन भी करेंगे और ऐसे लोगों के खिलाफ कार्रवाई करेंगे। एक पक्ष आपने राहुल जी दिखाया है, व्यवस्था को और चुस्त करने के लिए, दुरुस्त करने के लिए आपने जिस तरह से स्टिंग दिखाया है, अच्छी बात है। लेकिन दूसरा एक पार्ट और है राहुल जी, जिस पर मैं आपसे बात करना चाहता हूं। दूसरा पार्ट यह है कि ये जो एंटी रोमियो दस्ता है, इसने पूरे प्रदेश में इतना अच्छा काम किया है कि आज आप कॉलेज जाने वाली बहनों से बात करें, स्कूल जाने वाली बहनों से बात करें, तो जो मंचले पहले मोटरसाइकिल लेकर इन बहनों का पीछा करते थे, आज उन मंचलों में पुलिस को लेकर खौफ पैदा हुआ है। और आज जो बेटियां स्कूल जा रही हैं, कॉलेज जा रही हैं, उनमें सुरक्षा का भाव पैदा हुआ है। इस अभियान का एक सबसे बड़ा लाभ अगर किसी को, हमने पूरे प्रदेश भर में एक अभियान चला जिसमें महिला कांस्टेबल को भी हमने साथ में रखा था। करीब 7,42,000 लोगों से पूछताछ की गई, क्यों खड़े हैं, क्यों पीछे भाग रहे हैं, मोटरसाइकिल क्यों तेज चला रहे हैं, थप्पियां क्यों कस रहे हैं, स्कूल के बाहर क्यों खड़े हुए हैं, कॉलेज के बाहर क्यों खड़े हुए हैं, जहां पर हमारी बहनें बाहर जो आपकी शॉप, बुक शॉप्स होती हैं, वहां पर मनचले खड़े होते हैं, क्यों खड़े हुए हैं, एक पूछताछ हुई। और हम लोगों ने 1,802 लोगों को पकड़ा भी है, 538 लोगों के खिलाफ FIR भी हमने रजिस्टर्ड की है, 1,264 मंचलों को चेतावनी देकर छोड़ा भी है, उनके माँ बाप को छोड़ा है, माँ बाप को बुलाकर उनके सामने बताया कि आपका बेटा क्या करतूत कर रहा है। तो इस पर थोड़ा सा इसका संज्ञान लीजिए और बच्चों पर नियंत्रण रखना सीखिए, नहीं तो योगी की सरकार है, हवालात दे देगी।
जब अगर अखिलेश यादव की सरकार होती
प्राथमिकता है
या मायावती की सरकार होती और बीजेपी ऑपोजिशन में होती, तो आप आते टीवी पे, आप कहते इंडिया टुडे के दर्शकों से कि क्योंकि ये एसपी की सरकार है, ये बीएसपी की सरकार है, इसलिए पुलिस में कोई खौफ नहीं है, इसलिए वो वसूली कर रहे हैं और अखिलेश और मायावती ना रोकना चाहते हैं ना रोक पा रहे हैं। अब तो ये श्रीकांत शर्मा की सरकार है, योगी आदित्यनाथ की सरकार है, बीजेपी की सरकार है, आपके रहते भी पुलिस वाले इस तरह की उगाही कर रहे हैं, तो वो खौफ जिसकी आप बात किया करते थे विपक्ष में, वो कहां गया? हाउ आर द पुलिस पीपल एबल टू से दिस? व्हाई इज देयर नो डिटरेंस, मिनिस्टर?
राहुल जी, ये खौफ ही है जिस खौफ का मैं आपके सामने जिक्र कर रहा हूं। व्यवस्था तो राहुल कमल वही है जो पुरानी थी, पुलिस ऑफिसर्स तो वही है, 2 महीने में कोई नए पुलिस ऑफिसर तो हम लेकर आए नहीं है। पुलिस वही है, प्रशासन वही है, व्यवस्था वही है, और उसी प्रशासन, उसी व्यवस्था में हम इतना अच्छा काम भी कर रहे हैं, तो इसको भी कम से कम अप्रिशिएट करिए। अगर एक व्यक्ति गलत काम कर रहा है तो इसके लिए पूरे महकमे को आप बदनाम नहीं कर सकते। ऐसे लोगों को आपने आइडेंटिफाई किया है, आपने ऑन कैमरा पकड़ा है, हम लोग डेफिनेटली ऐसे लोगों के खिलाफ कार्रवाई करेंगे। लेकिन एक व्यक्ति के कारण पूरी सरकार को कटघरे में खड़ा करना, पूरे पुलिस महकमे पर सवाल खड़े करना, मैं मानता हूं उचित नहीं है। लेकिन आपने जो इन्वेस्टिगेशन किया है, मैं इसको आपको बधाई देना चाहता हूं। लगातार इस तरह के इन्वेस्टिगेशन आप करते रहिए, क्योंकि हम लोकतंत्र में चौथा स्तंभ मानते हैं मीडिया को। लेकिन जो अच्छे काम हो रहे हैं, इस एंटी रोमियो दस्ते ने जो अच्छा काम किया है, उसकी भी प्रशंसा कम से कम करिए। इस एक व्यक्ति के कारण उस पूरे जो अभियान है, जो सक्सेसफुल अभियान हुआ है, उसको कम से कम दाग लगाने की कोशिश कोई ना करे। मैं तो विरोधियों को भी कहता हूं कि बहन बेटियां सबकी साझा होती हैं। बहन बेटियों पर आंख उठाकर कोई देखेगा, उनके ऊपर कोई अभद्र टिप्पणी करेगा, उनके साथ कोई छेड़खानी करेगा, तो ऐसे लोगों को हम लोग बख्शने वाले नहीं हैं, सलाखों के पीछे डालने वाले हैं। अगर कोई अधिकारी ऐसे लोगों से अवैध वसूली करेगा, उनको डराने की कोशिश करेगा, धमकाने की कोशिश करेगा, ऐसे अधिकारियों के खिलाफ भी ये सरकार कानूनी कार्रवाई करने वाली है।
I think this is a fair point.
कार्रवाई करेंगे।
I think, Minister, you're making a fair point, and I said this before you came, that this investigation exposes only those who've been caught on camera. We can't really draw sweeping charges about the entire UP police or about all of the Anti-Romeo squad. But will you accept that a message needs to be sent out, a message which induces deterrence? The people who've been caught on camera need to be made examples out of, so that the others realize कि अगर उन्होंने इस तरह की कोई चीज की तो योगी आदित्यनाथ की बीजेपी की सरकार पूरे फोर्स के साथ उनके ऊपर आएगी, ताकि ये तो 3-4 लोग हम लोगों ने पकड़े, बाकियों को भी मैसेज आना चाहिए कि इस तरह की वसूली बीजेपी के राज में मंजूर नहीं है।
राहुल जी, डेफिनेटली, क्योंकि व्यवस्था अभी तक वसूली की ही चलती रही। यहां 15 साल से प्रदेश में जनता की परवाह किसी ने नहीं की, तो ये वसूली की परंपरा इस प्रदेश में रही है। इस परंपरा को समाप्त हम लोग कर रहे हैं। व्यवस्था का हम लोग सब हिस्सा हैं, आप भी व्यवस्था का हिस्सा हैं। 2 महीने में जितना तेज गति से हम लोगों ने इस अभियान को चलाया है, निश्चित रूप से आप कॉलेज में जाइए, किसी कॉलेज में हमारी जो बहनें हैं उनका इंटरव्यू करिए, किसी स्कूल में हमारी बहनें उनका इंटरव्यू करिए कि किस तरीके से ये मन चले उनको तंग करते थे, उनको परेशान करते थे। कॉलेज नहीं जाती थी बेटियां, स्कूल नहीं जाती थी बेटियां, तो पूरा प्रदेश जहां आदित्यनाथ योगी की सरकार को अप्रिशिएट कर रहा है, एक योगी को, एक संत को आशीर्वाद दे रहा है, तो वहीं पर अगर ये इस तरह के जो एलिमेंट्स हैं जिनको आप ऑन कैमरा दिखा रहे हैं, निश्चित रूप से इन लोगों को बख्शने वाले नहीं हैं हम लोग। और ये आपके चैनल के माध्यम से सरकार का संदेश भी है कि अब अगर कोई इस तरह की गलती करेगा, अब अगर इस तरह की कोई हरकत करेगा, तो योगी सरकार उन अधिकारियों को माफ करने वाली नहीं है। कड़ी से कड़ी सजा ऐसे अधिकारियों को मिलेगी जो जन भावनाओं के साथ खिलवाड़ करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। अभी तक सपा बसपा की परंपरा उसको आगे बढ़ाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। ये बचने वाले नहीं है। ये सरकार गरीब की सरकार है, जनता की सरकार है। ये सरकार बहन बेटियों को सुरक्षा प्रदान करने वाली सरकार है। बेगुनाहों के साथ कट्टा रखकर उनको जेल में डालने वालों की सरकार नहीं है। ऐसे लोगों के खिलाफ कार्रवाई करेंगे।
Those are very, very strong words from one of the senior most ministers of the Yogi Adityanath government, Shrikant Sharma. Thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. Appreciate your very firm intervention. And you're saying that whoever these officials are who've been caught, they will not be spared, they will be made an example out of. Let me go, and thank you very much, Shrikant Sharma ji, for joining us on this broadcast. Priyanka Chaturvedi, reactions from you. The BJP minister saying that whoever these people are, we will ensure the full force of the law comes out on them. A strong message of deterrence being sent out, he says.
No, that's the least the government can do, considering that the sting operation that is coming from your end should have been the UP government's responsibility. It has been left on the media to expose this kind of behavior of our cops and anti-Romeo squads, and they're getting away with it. It takes guts to, air things like these in these times that we are living in. So it becomes a responsibility, but abdicating that responsibility would have been, wouldn't sound too good on a national channel. That is why he's done what he has done. As a spokesperson, he's done his responsibility. But when we look at statistics, let's just do a comparison of last year and this year. 2016, rape crimes were 41. And in Mr. Yogi Adityanath's governance, 2 months of his governance, we have seen 6 times increase in that, almost 7 times increase in that to 272. So these are statistics that do not lie. These are numbers that do not lie. So words can be spoken. As a spokesperson of a party, you can come and defend your government all you want. But till the time you do not seek accountability, you do not take action, and this is just one figure I have given you, whether you look at murder crimes or the crimes, or for that matter, a 16-year-old getting molested molested by a policeman in a, when she goes to complain about the challenges she's facing. So this is what is happening in Uttar Pradesh.
Nandi, what do you make
as
of the BJP minister's defense? He says there's no question of protecting these corrupt police officials. We will go after them. Look also at what the UP government has been doing. Don't just pick on the negatives. He's also saying that these people will be made examples out of. Karuna Nandi.
You know, what he said sounded extremely reasonable in part, and I would like to address that part first. Now, what he said was that whoever is acting against the law will be acted against, you know, whether it's from the police, whether it's from anywhere where else. Now, what about the people from the Hindu Yuva Vahini who broke into, because, you know, our memories when we're watching media is very short, right? So let's talk about an example of only a month or so ago, when the Hindu Yuva Vahini, in the name of this Anti-Romeo campaign, broke into the house of broke into a room where a Muslim woman and a Muslim man were, and decided to do something about it, decided to do something violent about it. Now, what has happened to that? I would like to ask about that case. Now, that is something that is under their control. It's an organization that the Chief Minister himself started. Now, also they are claiming the victories, what they claim as the victories of these anti-Romeo squads, which is a reduction in manchalapan. Now, he called it, you know, he said, बच्चों पे control रखें, ये मंचले जो बच्चे हैं, you know, हमारी बहन बेटियां. अब बात यह है कि in these situations, the problem is this, is that if you do not speak of women in terms of citizens, in terms of women's freedoms, in terms of women's rights under the Constitution of India, if you think of it in this manner, inevitably what happens is that what we've been seeing across the board is that there's a certain kind of gundagardi, a certain kind of patriarchy that's coming in the name of women, you see.
Amitabh Thakur,
throughout his very reasonable, he did an excellent job as a spokesperson, but he said हमारे मन चले बच्चे, हमारी बहनें हमारी बेटियां. And if you look at the figures and the rise in crimes against women and the rise in moral policing, these completely give lie to what he said.
Amitabh Thakur, there's a much larger problem with the UP police itself. The problem is structural, the problem is a problem of legacy, the problem also is a problem of the UP police believing that they can do whatever they want. And as Karuna Nandi says, in previous instances, obviously whatever action has been taken in the years gone by, it hasn't been strong enough, which is why cops with such high levels of brazenness, and we didn't have to approach them again and again. These are conversations that got recorded in the first meeting. The Hurriyat conversations we had to set up over months to make happen. They didn't happen in the first instance. These conversations were recorded by our SIT in their very first meeting with these officials. That's how easy they were to open up and get them to make all these kinds of offers on camera in the first meeting itself, Mr. Thakur.
Mr. Rahul, I fully agree with you. I am a cop, that way I am a senior officer, whatever way. But the fact remains, I think we shall not feel bad about admitting it, that there are structural issues associated with the UP police, to quite some extent with the Indian police. There are many issues, some of them you have shown, and I think, in my personal opinion, the basic reason is for or whatever is there is that we somehow or other, we do not go and we do not stick to the 20 points of accountability and transparency. Like the 4 people you have shown here, Mr. Vineet, Mr. Onkar, Mr. Ved Prakash and Mr. Babudin. And such things have happened many times. Ms. Nandi talked about the one particular incidences happen in my life, your life, everyone's life. In whatever case, if the police authorities or other state officials, if they have done something wrong, and if it is not taken to the logical conclusion,
absolutely,
it leaves a bad legacy, and I think that is a problem with us. That is a problem with our police, and we need to take it seriously.
Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath said when I asked him about moral policing, about these anti-Romeo squads, and about the kind of concerns that had been voiced about the existence and formation of these anti-Romeo squads. Here's an excerpt from my interview with the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath.
एंटी-रोमियो स्क्वाड का जिक्र हुआ, और एंटी-रोमियो स्क्वाड में जहां महिलाओं की सुरक्षा एक अहम मुद्दा है, वहीं हमने ये भी देखा कि कुछ जगह पे जहां पति पत्नी साथ में है, बॉयफ्रेंड गर्लफ्रेंड अपनी स्वेच्छा से साथ में है, भाई बहन साथ में है, वहां पर भी पुलिस ने आके दंड बैठक करा दी, उठक बैठक करा दी। तो इसको आप कैसे रोकेंगे?
देखिए, एंटी रोमियो स्क्वाड की आवश्यकता उत्तर प्रदेश जैसे राज्य के लिए थी और वो आज भी है, वो आगे कार्य करेगा। लेकिन स्क्वाड के गठित करने के साथ ही हम लोगों ने उसके लिए गाइडलाइन भी तैयार कर दी थी और मैंने तत्काल अधिकारियों की बैठक में इस बात को कह दिया था कि एंटी रोमियो स्क्वाड मंचलों और सौदे किस्म के जो आवारा लड़के हैं उन पर लागू होगा, उन पर कार्य करेगा। अगर सहमति से कहीं पर दो मित्र बैठे हुए हैं या सड़क पर दो मित्र साथ चल रहे हैं, हो सकता है अगर एक कोई लड़का लड़की है, वो भाई बहन भी हो सकती हैं, उन पर किसी भी प्रकार की कोई कार्रवाई नहीं करेगा।
That's Yogi Adityanath. He's made this promise, and final words, Anila saying this is a promise the government has to keep, that you're sending out a message of deterrence. Otherwise, you know, you can say, and I think Priyanka Chaturvedi made an important point, as a spokesperson you come on TV, press the right buttons, but on the ground the message is totally different and the actions are divergent from what's being said. Anila.
Rahul, Shrikant Sharma ji has said so much in so few words. I do not have to repeat those words again and again, but if you would have appreciated what I said in the beginning, the type of legacy which Bharatiya Janata Party has inherited from Samajwadi Party, then all the accusations made by the ladies on the panel would have gone lame. We are not shying away from our duty. We are standing very strongly. We have got trust of people in Uttar Pradesh, and we have sealed our fate with them. We are here to eradicate crime and criminals, and we are standing on our words. Okay. Believe me. And the people who are in services.
Anila saying, Priyanka Chaturvedi, Karuna Nandi, Amitabh Thakur for joining us on this India Today expose. Thank you very much. This is a story we will continue to track because there have been apprehensions around anti-Romeo squads from the day it was announced that they'd be started. We've exposed what's happening on the ground. The Uttar Pradesh government is promising to send out a message of deterrence. Let's see how swift that action is and whether it fixes other cases. We will attempt the same investigation in a few months from now. Of that, you have my guarantee.